You check your phone. There's no message. It hasn't arrived in 3 days, yet you're not angry at them. Instead, you're irritated with yourself for noticing. You type out a text. You delete it. You rewrite it, changing the punctuation to sound more casual, less desperate, less like someone lying on a ceiling at 2 a.m., analyzing every possible mistake you might have made. You send it. You see, delivered, change to read. And then, nothing. What you do next, this part, is wait. Not because you're forced to, but because somewhere, in a place you haven't looked at directly, you believe that leaving would make you the problem. They know this about you. They've known it for a while. This isn't exactly about toxic relationships. You've already read all the checklists, so we'll skip those. Instead, it's about something quieter and more unsettling. The way certain people learn to read you, discover the exact limit of your loyalty, and then push right up to it. Sometimes because they're scared. Sometimes because they've been taught to be. Sometimes because they know they can get away with it. Not understanding this process isn't just about a bad relationship. It's about the pattern that follows you. It's that part of you that keeps drawing the same type of person in different bodies. It's the growing suspicion you really don't want to face, that something in you is broadcasting a message you never intended to send. There are several clear ways this plays out. Each person feels completely different on the outside, but beneath the surface, they share the same mechanism. When one of them reacts a certain way, it lands somewhere specific. You'll know. There's a moment in some relationships, not always dramatic, sometimes barely noticeable, when the other person realizes something. They test boundaries. Cancel plans to see your reaction. Say something unkind and watch if you pull away or lean in. Disappear for a day, then 2, then a week, counting how many times you reach out before they respond. Whether intentional or instinctive, the result is the same. They gain insight into you. And what they see is this: you won't leave. Once they know that, once the data confirms it, something shifts. Not all at once, but gradually, like water finding a crack and widening it. During this process, you feel a particular kind of confusion. You're not exactly angry, but you're not truly okay either. You hesitate to speak up, replay conversations searching for the moment things changed, but can never quite find it. It's like losing an argument no one is openly having. Researchers call this perceived commitment asymmetry. The gap between how much you believe you need this relationship and how much they believe they need you. The larger the gap, the more power it gives. Power flows toward the person who could walk away. Think of it as a tug-of-war rope. One person holds on with both hands, while the other grips with just 2 fingers. The person with 2 fingers doesn't need to pull harder. They just need to be willing to let go. And you, often unknowingly, have shown them your grip. If you're reading this and see yourself not as the one waiting, but as the one holding on with 2 fingers, that's worth reflecting on too. The first version looks like this. You're sitting across from someone who explains, again, why they can't show up for you the way you show up for them. It might be your best friend or partner. Their explanation is long, involving their childhood, past relationships, anxiety, and the specific nature of their emotional capacity, which, as it turns out, is smaller than yours. You nod with genuine compassion, because you understand. They've read the books, know about attachment, nervous system dysregulation, developmental trauma, and believe in meeting people where they are. But here's what you don't say. This is the 4th time you've had a conversation where their limitations are explained to you, not addressed. Explained. There's no 4th conversation where your limitations are treated with the same patience. Because in this dynamic, you don't have limitations. You are the one who understands. Your empathy has become a resource, not appreciated as a quality used as a lever. The moment you showed that you could hold nuance, extend grace, stay present even when it hurt, was when you became essentially inexhaustible. The wound beneath this isn't naivety. It's the belief, often planted early, that being needed equals being loved. That your value in a relationship depends on how much you can absorb. You learn that the way to keep someone is to become indispensable, not through joy, but through service. And the quiet shame underneath that is this. Some part of you chose someone who needs a lot, because being needed feels safer than being chosen. Is that a sentence you want to sit with, or does it already hurt? Then there's a quieter version. You're in a conflict, not a loud one, but a slow one, where nothing is fully said, and nothing is completely resolved. Eventually, you both stop talking about it, assuming it has passed. But what really happened is that you blinked first. You felt the discomfort of an unresolved issue and couldn't hold it in any longer. So, you sent a gentle message, made a joke, or suggested dinner, and they accepted the peace offering without ever needing to explain what caused it. You do this because unresolved tension doesn't feel uncomfortable to you. It feels like an emergency. If you grew up in a house where silence could turn into chaos without warning, and where the gap between a rupture and repair could suddenly lead to loss, your nervous system learned that closing the distance quickly was how you survived. That's not a weakness. It's an old survival response, living inside a new body. But what it creates in relationships is a situation where the other person learns they never need to fix things with you, because you will always come back. The cost of treating you poorly is zero, because the invoice never arrives. The core wound isn't that you hate conflict. It's that you learned, somewhere along the way, that being the first to apologize was the only way to stay safe. You've been doing it for so long that it just feels like who you are. But is it really who you are? Or is it just what you learned to do to survive someone you loved long ago? Some versions of this pattern don't seem to involve overgiving or flinching. Some appear to show strength. You are the one who doesn't fall apart. You show up when everyone else cancels. You remember the anniversary. Notice the mood shift. Hold space while they're unraveling. You've been called, probably more than once, their rock. Consider whether that was a compliment or a job description. Because here is what the rock dynamic effectively does. It removes reciprocity from the equation. Rocks don't need things. Rocks don't call at midnight because they're scared. So gradually, the expectation hardens that you won't either. When you do need something, when you have a bad week, when something breaks inside you, there's often a disorienting moment where the relationship doesn't know how to hold it. Not because the other person is cruel, but because you trained them. You showed up so consistently as the capable one that your need becomes, to them, a malfunction. And what you feel in that moment is a very specific, suffocating shame that you bury immediately. That being vulnerable made them uncomfortable. That the version of you they love is the one that doesn't require anything back. Research on emotional role reversal in relationships finds this consistently. The person who acts as the emotional container usually does so not because they feel no need, but because they learned early on that their need was a burden. That was the way to stay close to someone. Never cost them anything. You are not a rock. You are a person performing permanence because you learned that permanence had to be earned. When did you start believing that? And then there's the last version, the hardest to name, because it looks the most like love. You have been in this relationship long enough to have history, shared references, and a particular way of fighting and making up that has its own rhythm. Long enough that leaving would require dismantling not just a relationship but an entire life. The lease, the dog, the standing dinner reservation, and the shared grief you've never discussed with anyone else. And so, the loyalty is genuine. The love is genuine. But so is a creeping awareness that the terms of this relationship have been renegotiated without your consent. So slowly you didn't notice, until one day you look at what you're accepting, and can't figure out when you agreed to any of it. You didn't agree. You just didn't leave. The brain does not naturally distinguish between love and the fear of losing everything you've already given. The more we invest in something, the more pain we're willing to tolerate to avoid concluding that the investment was wrong. You are not staying because you're weak. You are staying because your brain is protecting you from a grief so large it hasn't let you look at it directly. And that's the calculus the other person, consciously or not, is counting on. It's not your fault that you care deeply. Stay, extend grace, and don't abandon easily. These aren't pathologies. In fact, they are often the most admirable qualities someone can have. However, your loyalty isn't invisible. The people in your life can sense it, and some, though not all, have learned to treat it as a fixed factor. It's not a gift you're intentionally giving, but a constant they can plan around. Recognizing this can bring a particular kind of pain. It's not rage, but more like the realization that what you thought made you lovable has actually been making you exploitable. The underlying belief is usually this: if I love hard enough, consistently, and unconditionally, eventually I will be recognized, and my love will be returned. That if you just stay, if you don't flinch, leave, or give up, the relationship will eventually turn into what it's meant to be. But what if your staying is what has allowed the other person never to fully reckon with you? Not because they don't care, perhaps they do, but because they've never had to. You've ensured that. There's one question worth reflecting on. Not whether they love you, nor whether the relationship is healthy, nor whether you should stay or go. The older question, the one you've buried every time it comes up. What would you do if you stopped believing that loyalty is the price of being loved? You care deeply, and so does everyone who has hurt you.